My name's Juan. I've been a real world student for going on 3 months now. I'm from Texas and 28 years old.
For the first question about the course, what mindset do you think that people have when they're joining this course? Like the type of person when they're going into this course, that attracts them to this course specifically.
I think it's for anybody who I think it's for anybody who expects more out of life. We're told to go to 9 to 5, we're told to sit in traditional schooling systems, and I think this is especially for people who are able to see through a veil where they're like, there's got to be more to life than working a 9 to 5, getting only 1 week of vacation off. Like, there's got to be more to it than just working to make somebody else money. I want some of that success on that level. And I think that's where kind of where the mentality for a lot of people comes from is it's more so about we're excited to make money. We're excited to change our lives because we see where we can improve. And I think that especially when you get into the campus, the mind frame you end up adopting later on kind of helps you throughout the course. So definitely, there's a lot. I think it's for people who see that the traditional way is not for them, or they feel like the traditional way isn't working anymore.
Hmm.
And I think I see that it's mainly risk takers, people who are willing to sacrifice whatever they can to get to their end game of what they want in life.
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying that this is kind of like a course for people that are more ambitious, to say.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Which this leads into the second question or follow up question. Um, with this, type of mindset, I feel like this, especially for the viewers, um, it's a perfect place or example of like a community where this is being spoken about, right? Because like you were speaking about
Hmm.
earlier, in traditional institutions, this isn't really a thing, right? Like this isn't really like your teacher saying, "Oh, you should take these chances." They're saying the opposite, right? They're saying you shouldn't. And obviously, everybody's different, right? So I don't want to
Hmm.
generalize this and make it sound like if you're not doing et cetera, you're on the wrong path. But kind of like you were saying, the one size approach that traditional institutions bring, it doesn't work for everybody, right? Um, some of the most successful billionaires in the world, right, whether that be Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they all kind of went through the same thing where they realized, whatever time, a couple months or a year into college, it wasn't bringing them the value that they knew that they needed if they're gonna, reach their potential. Um, so yeah, that's extremely potent point when you're discussing this type of stuff, especially finding places where you can discuss this type of stuff. Find environments where this stuff is, encouraged. Will 100% develop you into that direction. Um, so this kind of goes into the third question. Then, when I was looking at the website, I saw the quote "ready to escape." So for me, when I saw that initially, I was thinking, okay, so this program, it has to be kind of like, you know, an opportunity, right? If somebody said you had an opportunity to, win a vacation in this part of the world for like 6 months, everything's paid for. It's kind of like escape from like your day to day life. Um,
Hmm.
so so since you have experience in this course, this community, what do you think about that? What do you think about that quote? Ready to escape.
I think it's very much so. It's very. It's not just a slogan. It's actually something that you end up realizing when you initially come in. You're coming in with previous programming. Go to traditional school. Work so many years, and eventually you'll have the know-how to start your own business and by that point, a major portion of your life is taken. And when you do that, what I mean by that is you've invested so much into the traditionalist way. Like, let's say you want to go to law school and be a lawyer or something. All that time you're spending in mathematics, like, while it is important to have, some people are just not geared towards that. And then by the time you're done with the traditional system, you graduate from high school, still not really have even taken the first step forward towards that goal. And with this, you eventually figure out in school, I'm not good at these subjects, but in this one, you really do get to escape a certain programming, because what you thought was you're taught only one way, do it the traditional way. If you're not good at it, you basically fail at life. That's the way society views it. Here, it's more so escape the old mindset. At this school, there are fields, there are courses that you have that are you can have tailor made for yourself. And when you realize that, hey, I have something that I like that I can put just to myself,
Mm-hmm.
it, customize it to where I'm learning the course I want. This is all on me. It's very much easier. And since there is already an established community there, you'll start out this journey not knowing much, but you feel very much safe with everyone. So it's very much is escaping the old way, coming into the new way, and having experience with it. The new way is way better.
So would you say that like the way, like you're saying, the mindset, it's the shift from like what you've been told, what you've been sold, to the new shift of like, okay, this is actually what's going on. This is actually what's valuable. This is actually what's current, in the economy, in the world right now. This is the skills that will actually get you towards where you want to go.
Yes.
Gotcha. Um, and I think this actually falls really great into the fourth question. What is it like being a part of this community? What is it like being a part of this movement? What is it like doing these things, right? Like, what is it like taking this leap, right? Taking this chance to escape, right? What is it like being in that environment? What have you noticed from your own experiences?
It's a very disciplined group, very disciplined community, and a very big on accountability. The community is very much there. We're all like kind of like a hive mind. We all have the same idea. Like, okay, we're seeing through the veil. The traditional stuff looks like it isn't even working, because now even college degrees aren't enough to have a high paying job anymore. So once you start getting into this, breaking into the real world and everything, and you have that mentality of escape the matrix, you end up looking around at this community when you initially get in, and you find that it's very refreshing to see like-minded people. When you kind of come in here into the real world on your own, it's scary, because people, 9 times out of 10, your social group is not going to see what you're talking about.
Mm,
It's usually people who are, been pre-programmed, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but you end up finding out quickly, it starts replacing other things. This community, you'll start be interacting with it in the sense of like your schoolmates will help you. You've got professors who are pushing you to use your brain power. They won't answer questions that are easily Googleable, that you can find on any kind of research site. That you have to be smart with your questions. You have to present some effort that you put in.
mm-hmm,
And when you're in a community like that, you end up becoming a lot more disciplined, but you also become accountable. You become accountable in a way like, okay, I've got this assignment to do, or I've got this general thing in my life that I have to do.
mm-hmm.
They have an accountability chat where I'll be like, okay, today I plan to put this many hours into my work, and you'll be expected to be held up to that. It's it's more so about not only furthering it, just furthering yourself to make you more money. It's fixing previous bad habits. that were there and correcting yourself to become better. So the community is overall very strict, but everybody, the community itself holds itself to a certain caliber of being an upstanding individual. And if you start falling out of line of that image, people will be there to put you back in line. Put you in check and
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're on the same path as everybody still.
So, especially coming from your perspective, um, I found something very interesting. The gaming part of it, right, where you're talking about how this experience, from like a gamer's mindset, has kind of like taught you in a way, kind of like aided you along this process because you've kind of had to learn some of these basic skills. So on that side, I'm interested to know your perspective. Yeah.
So I think especially gamers should take advantage of this, and I want to say that like gamers are definitely programmed for this because gamers are taught. We play many different genres as gamers, so we're forced to treat problems differently. A
Mm-hmm.
shooter is not the same mentality as problem solving for a RPG,
Mm-hmm.
and when you go into that with that, especially with the way video games are advertised and gamers end up more often disappointed than happy, you start taking all that like that information of why does this video game suck? This video game's broken because of bad programming. Well, I'm gonna go behind the scenes and see what happens. When you put it in context of a video game,
Mm-hmm.
it's very it becomes clear as day when you're escaping the matrix because obviously something in the traditional life isn't working. And the thing of it is, I see the flaw, and school at the end of the day, in my opinion, has always been a big tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really provide anything accurately. So what I find for the real world to be close to a video game is this is a video game that you tailor make the settings for. You in life can choose how hard your life will be. You
Mm-hmm.
go into the school, you get your course based on what you come in with as far as what you know how to do and what you feel comfortable with. The options are you're setting your own options. Then throughout the course it's going to be a difficult experience, but we've all played games where it's difficult, but once you make it through to the end, it's the most rewarding process.
Cool.
So I
Cool to hear.
think, pardon?
No, I said cool to hear. Like you were saying about your perspective as a gamer, it's cool to hear that so much in like traditional media is like, oh, you're not doing too much with your time, but as I've kind of grown up, I've kind of, like you're saying, it's kind of like made me realize, like, oh my God, during that time that I was doing that, it has helped me in a lot of areas. And it's really cool to see, um, this kind of like more, what's a good word for it? Like, conceptualized, right, with your experience and seeing that it's, helped you along the way of being able to learn these principles. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to go in it with that gamer mindset. I think that tends to be actually the more common student that I see in is actually a lot of gamers.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think they're better equipped for it because of the way where gamers approach problems. It's like I said, going back to the different mentality. How do I readjust my focus? Okay, so I can't go and rush this in. There has to, but every gamer comes with the angle of how do I solve this problem? Because this is solvable. I can get past this level. And when you think of it in the terms of a video game, especially if you think about being a male,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, we have to work hard for everything. So why are we going to stay stuck in a tutorial for 10 years that at the end of the day really doesn't bear any fruit instead of trying to take advantage of trying to take advantage of a tool that we can utilize to make the video game a lot more straightforward and easier and cut some time off of it, trim the fat and everything.
Yeah, like you're saying there, um, we, like you were saying earlier on, okay, about the tutorial and the traditional system, and how that kind of like transfers in a lot of people's mindsets after that, where they become programmed to think in that mindset and only that mindset, and anything else is like a waste of time, right? But as a gamer, you quickly realize, right, that there's almost always something more to the system, right? Like there's always something more to the framework that you're playing in, right? So that's something that, especially leading into the fifth question about, what what if you're wrong? How do you course correct yourself? Um, how would you say that this course kind of helps you do that, right? If you're doing something, for example, if I'm starting an e-commerce business, right?
Hmm.
I have an idea for the product. I have an idea for the ads, but for example, I might be on the wrong ad platform, right? I might be, focusing on Instagram ads versus if I focus purely on my Facebook ads or whatever. How does this course help, course correct their students to be able to make, the best decisions with the information they're given? Um,
It's best given through a lot of trial and error, because the thing about this school is it's not something where you just sit in a classroom, you sit down, take notes, pile on a week's worth of notes, and then tell somebody, you know, hey, we're going to have a test on Friday, and as the information comes, you have to try and memorize it as quick as you can. This is something that I feel is more streamlined and beneficial because one, it beats traditional schooling in the sense of where it makes the problems a lot more apparent with your learning. And what I mean by that is, let's say, because of the way it's designed, it goes by step of your field. So let's say you want to do an e-commerce class. It's going to go step by individual step what you need to do
hmm,
to best do these things. It will send you videos, but the thing about these videos when you watch them is it's rapid execution. These are things it's going to expect you to do. They teach you how to reach out to a business properly. They give you the outline for it, so you're not, you don't go to school, sit in a class, study it, but you haven't put everything you absorbed from a book into execution.
hmm.
This course, you have to do that. It is mandatory to put in some effort into it. Otherwise, by the time you get to the end, you're not going to know what you're doing because you just went taking notes, but you didn't execute those actions. It's very much, and it goes back to the accountability and discipline thing where they expect you to try and do this. The professors expect you to try and go into your field and they expect you to fail. But the thing is, you don't have to fail terribly. You can send like I have documents that sometimes have the professors or other fellow students go and review, and these are like cold emails I'm going to send out to to businesses that I
Hmm.
want to partner with. And so I have my professors basically actively sitting over my shoulder to some degree, helping me build this email that I'm gonna send out to a business here in like a day or two.
Interesting. Okay. Hmm.
It's hand holding in the sense of it gives you all the tools you need and it tells you exactly what to do. The action falls on you. The money never gets into anybody's pocket while we sit down. So you got to go out and get it yourself.
100%. 100%. And going into that, what is an example of one thing in your experience that it really helped you course correct yourself? Um, I'm curious to know.
So it definitely fixed my fitness. Fitness was a big one. After my daughter was born, I stopped taking care of my health. And I was just eating a whole bunch of junk food and just playing video games after work and
Hmm.
aside from family time. And it got to a point where I was about 225 pounds, 230, around there. and they have a fitness campus in the real world. And I was already starting to work out a little bit, but I wasn't seeing that many results.
Hmm.
This gave me more the real world, since it provided the access to a trainer, the same one I believe that trains Tristan Tate. Because I had that access through the real world, I was able to incorporate what I had learned into my own workout routine, and I ended up dropping from around 225, 230 all the way down to about 175, 180. I
Wow.
think I'm 177, and that was within the span of 6 months.
Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, like you're saying there, that's like a easy, clear, concrete example of being able to kind of like get, mentorship, but you still have to put in the work, right? You still have to show up to the gym every day. You still have to be, able to commit. But having that extra, information, like you said, it could be a difference of a massive weight loss journey in 6 months, or it could be the difference of not having that happen. So yeah, that's a um, very interesting experience. Which actually leads into the next question. So, for the pros and cons of this experience with this course, what would you say is like the most common things that like a student might struggle with if they're going to think about entering this course? And what is the most, what is an easy thing when it comes to getting into this course, right? Like, what is the pros, what are the cons? So,
So the easiest thing you come in here expecting to happen is that you're going to make money quick, and your life is going to change through these steps, and that is not the accurate way of thinking of it. The
mm-hmm,
way I would now describe it, now that I've been in here longer, is you're coming in here to learn how to make money that can potentially, you could potentially spread out generations with.
mm-hmm,
That has been one realization, and the second pro that I have for this is you will start becoming just a better you. You will start being more accountable. You will take your discipline a lot more serious. They promote you to get healthy while you do this program. Do 100 push-ups a day. Go to the gym. Don't, put down the Cheetos. Go eat something healthy. Go get some steak or something after
mm-hmm,
your gym workout. There's many pros to it for sure. I think the cons are dependent upon the person. For me personally, it has been the con for me was be it was at one point I got a little too obsessed with it because to I was so determined to get to where I wanted to be that I wasn't being very attentive to my family, and they discussed it with me and told me I needed to spend more time with them.
mm-hmm,
But that again, that also comes down to that was a me issue. I think the con that becomes a pro later. There
mm-hmm.
is some things that look like a con when it's happening, but it becomes beneficial later. And it's common for a lot of students, not just for myself, but a lot of students, the longer they're in there, the one thing I've seen commonly complain is they lose a lot of friends over this, like long-term friendships even,
Interesting. Okay.
because say it's me, you, and a few other people sitting in a room, and you're the person that's doing the real world, and we're just sitting down playing video games. You're engulfing yourself in so much work
Mm-hmm,
towards your future that you kind of look around you and you start just cutting out things that are wasting time. Sitting down and watching movies with the guys and drinking beer and everything is fun and all, but you start valuing your time more. I think that's what I should say. It's You value your time more because you tell yourself, this movie, drinking beer and hanging out with the guys is fun and all, but I just wasted like 2 hours basically destroying my body when I just spent an hour working out in the gym, and I could have been working on my business. And you start noticing your friends will distance themselves from you because at some point, your life starts changing. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but when you're changing for the better, all the toxic things start leaving almost immediately.
Yeah, I've had
Um,
experiences like that, especially getting out of high school, starting to move out on my own, all that type of stuff. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
yeah, like for me, it was my friends. We would just sit down and play video games and this, that, the other, but we never actually. I looked around one day and I told my friends we'd never gone to a beach or had like a little friend family vacation thing, and really like we've never really gone and done anything that we've seen like these people on TV growing up doing that we saw. They were not 20-year-olds in college going to, going hitchhiking or going on vacations and stuff. Like, why are we working harder than them?
Hmm.
And they made it seem a certain way once you become an adult. Well, when you start having that thinking and having those conversations, you start noticing like, wow, these people, my friends, I love them, but they have no ambition to be better than where we're at. And
Gotcha.
you'll the rifts start being caused because the further you ascend, two things happen. The further you ascend, people will distance themselves from you because it's almost like, oh, this guy's doing way too much, and he just never comes by anymore. I don't want to bother to invite him to things because he's always so busy, which I understand that.
Hmm.
Or there will be those things where it'll be another one of those situations where somebody's like, there's a jealous guy in the group, like, because like I said, the program and promotes you being healthy, getting in shape. You'll start getting, females, depending on the female, that they might be attracted to you because you're just the better guy in shape in the room.
Hmm.
But between men, that'll cause a lot of envy, and that can ruin a lot of friendships because that might be somebody's that they like.
Hmm.
Everything starts changing, and the I think that's the most common thing that I've seen.
So,
And the like
mhm.
toxic stuff like no porn and all that stuff, that also, those just naturally start falling out of the picture.
Gotcha. So basically, you're saying that like when you start to level up, right? People
Hmm.
see that you're leveling up, but they see that in a way of like, oh, why does he have that and I don't have that, right? They see it as more of like an envy more than like a motivation factor, right? That like, oh, I know this guy and he was able to do this, so that should motivate me to maybe start taking, my life a bit more seriously and start doing that. They take it as, screw that guy, right?
Hmm.
Instead of seeing it as like an opportunity of growth. Interesting. Um, and I think this actually goes perfectly into my final question. So, going through this course, what aspects of this do you think will prepare us, especially for an AI world, in that like things are starting to change fast, right? What core things here do you think prepares people to have the mindset to be able to go into this new world, and be able to be confident that they can survive whatever is about to happen, right? They can make it through. They can do it. What elements of this course do you think helps people in that regard?
I think I think where the biggest concern for AI is, am I replaceable?
Mm-hmm.
And let's be clear, AI is not going to be replacing what the real world teaches. The real world is giving you courses that go hand in hand with AI. They have integrated AI into the courses that they give because they will sit you down and tell you how to give you a course, uh, get you through all your training, and you'll be learning primarily how to do it on your own. Once you get to a certain point, you'll start learning about AI. And the reason they do it, for I believe, at the end of the course,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is, at the end of the day, even if, let's say, you're doing advertising and you have AI trying to do it, the fact of the matter is we're advertising towards humans, and humans know when we see something that isn't just, there's no humanity put into it, there's no emotion.
Interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm.
They are giving us skills that AI cannot replace because it still needs the human behind it. You could go like me. I'm in copywriting. I was learning the copywriting. So they started integrating AI, and I was one of those people initially thinking AI would like wipe out copywriters. But the thing is, you still have to talk in a way of being able to persuade somebody to buy something,
Hmm.
but you have to appeal to their personal struggle that they're going through. AI can word something well all day, but it's going to have a hard time convincing a human, you know, because there's no emotion behind that text. There's no way to drive the human completely to make a purchase. So that's where we come into using the AI for ourselves. Like AI will not hinder anybody who joins the real world because it's integrated into what we learn. We're learning how to do it, and it's definitely here. I would say, especially for anybody who is worried about AI, should join the real world because they're basically giving you $1 million worth of game for $50 a month. You can't beat that.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things I saw on the website was like a Netflix subscription, right? At the end of the
Hmm.
month, what do you take away from that, right? Like, oh, I might have had like a couple hours of fun watching whatever shows out at the time, but with a subscription like this, you're learning a skill set. In your case, you lost like in 6 months a crap ton of pounds, right? Like, this is something that will have an impact on you way longer, right, than a Netflix subscription could ever bring. And I found that, parallel to be very interesting because, especially going into this world where there's going to be a lot more automation in areas and stuff like that, most people are going to get further and further away of relying on like core skills, right? They're going to start to um, offload, these core things like you were talking about, how to be persuasive and be able to sell a product, right? Especially marketing, one of the most important things is knowing your customer. And I don't think that, generally into the future, that, AIs are going to be able to understand humans better than we can understand ourselves, at least like on a general broad level, right? And I think that these types of skill sets um, will always have like some sort of place. And I think that kind of like you're saying um, about learning these things, right? Like this built into the curriculum to be able to have that mindset. The people who are going to succeed the most, especially into this new like AI era, are going to be able be. Sorry, I'm jumbling over my words. Are going to be the people are going to be the people who know how to use AI, right? Somebody that knows how to use the web, right, will have 100-fold advantage over the person that doesn't know how to use the web, right? And the same thing with the AI. The person who knows how to use AI, right, will be 100 times more effective than the person who doesn't know how to use AI. And I think that this kind of brings that to fruition in a way, in a real way where you have a community of people that are really motivated, that are really learning these, principles, these foundations, all that type of stuff, and they're now starting to apply that with the addition of AI. So yeah, just found that very interesting. Thanks for your time. Really interesting insights. Anything else you'd like to say?
I would like to say for anybody who is considering joining real world, if you're finding schools not traditionally for you, give this a try. There's nothing wrong with giving it a try because at the end of the day, if traditional schooling isn't maybe working out for whatever reason, and I would say give it a try because it could be something for you. You, like I said, it's very personalized. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I said, I lost all that weight on this program. Last time I was watching Netflix, I didn't turn it off and then have a six pack afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So the results speak for itself.
Wow, yeah, like you're saying, it literally it speaks for itself, and I think that that's something that in this today's world, a lot of things are becoming more and more complicated. But like these base things, right? Eating healthy, committing to something, spending your time wisely, right? Those things will always have an empirical effect, no matter where you're going, right? So yeah, nice talking to you. Thank you for your time.
No problem, brother. You take care.
You too. Peace out.